Hey y'all, it's Miss Mandy here, just keeping it real. How are y'all doing today? I hope you're doing great. It is a beautiful day outside today. I just wanted to come on here today and talk about something just a little bit more, I don't know, cringy, a little bit more serious. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, just a lot. I was on here a few days ago, discussed the tragedy that happened in Tumblr, BC. And then, only a matter of a couple of days later, there was another incident where a gentleman went into a hockey rink during a game and unalived his entire family and himself. So that brought me to today's topic. I want to talk about mental health here. Everything, okay, I don't even know what's going on with society right now. I have never in my life seen or heard about so many people who are on antidepressants, anti anxiety medication, bipolar medication, ADHD medication, like medication. Okay. I don't know about you guys. I'm Gen X, so y'all can guess my age. We're not going to play that game. But I don't remember ever knowing this many people who are having to take something for their mental health. What has happened to our lives in general that has caused everybody to start losing their marbles and having to go on all these different medical interventions for mental health? I have a fair amount of friends. And in my friend circle, of the people in my age category, there's not a whole heck of a lot of people who take anything for mental health. You might have the odd person who is on something for anxiety, or they've got a lot going on in their life and maybe they're taking something to help them sleep. But this younger generation, I'm talking like, 15 to, let's say 15 to 35. What is going on there? What is going on? Because these young people, they're I can't even count the amount of younger people I know who are taking something for anxiety, something for depression, something for ADHD. And every time something difficult happens in their lives, it's straight back to the family doctor. Do not pass go, do not collect $100. Don't go, waiting on a wait list forever to actually see a psychiatrist to get diagnosed with something. People are just going and getting diagnosed by their family practitioners, which, I'm sorry, a family practitioner, amazing. I absolutely love mine. He's fantastic. But he's not a psychological professional. He's a medical professional. So yes, he can give me drugs if I want him to give me drugs. But at what point do we all decide that enough drugs is enough drugs? Okay, let's get to the root of the problem here. Okay, because just in the last few days, just in the last like week or so, we had the terrible tragedy that happened in BC. I'm not going to say exactly what it was. If you were listening to any kind of news source, you know what it was. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the person who committed this offense. Okay, let's not go into their gender identity because that's a whole other ball game there. Okay, this young person obviously needed mental health care. Okay. From what I've heard in a few different reports on the news and a few different investigations into it, this behavioral issue has been an ongoing issue for some time. The parents have had problems with this youngster before. They've had to have their guns taken out of their house for safety purposes because he couldn't be trusted around them, so on, so forth, etc. This other incident that has occurred at this hockey rink with this father who unalived his whole family and himself, from what I've heard. From what I understand, he just broke up with his wife. But if you watch the news reports, he, let's just say, didn't exactly look like he. Okay. He didn't. He was apparently not identifying as a man anymore and decided he was leaving his wife, his whole family. And then I don't know what happened. Obviously, things went sideways and he decided to show up at a hockey game and unalive the whole family. I'm not blaming the fact that these two individuals didn't identify as their original gender. Okay. Trans people have been around for a long time. A long time. Trans people have been around. Never in the history of trans people has this much bad stuff been going on. So it's not necessarily the trans people that are the problem. And, at some point, I have a trans friend. I would love to interview her on here just to give you a bit of insight of what she feels like from her point of view. She has gone through her entire transition. Now, I don't want to throw blame in any particular direction here, but when youngsters, and I'm talking kids, okay, when kids start coming to their parents and saying, I'm confused, I don't feel right. Now, back in the day, if you went to your parents because you were feeling mentally unwell, number one, they'd look at you like you had two heads. They'd be like, what do you have to be stressed about? You're 10 years old. There's nothing in your life that should be causing you this much discomfort and this much agony that you're now depressed and anxious and all this other stuff. It just wasn't a thing because kids were left to be kids. So, what's going on now that's so different? Well, in my mind, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Kids know too much now. Okay? When I was a kid, I knew nothing about gender identity. I knew nothing about gay people, straight people. I knew nothing about racism. I knew nothing about any of these controversial subjects because I was a kid and adults didn't discuss that stuff with their kids. They let their kids be kids. And now, with the internet right in everybody's homes and in everybody's lives, and the education system, which I'm sorry, they're failing us, they're failing hard. They are talking about these controversial subjects in the classroom. The children are reading about this kind of stuff online. Well, if you fill a child's head full of adult subject, it's going to confuse their wee brains. Okay. And they're going to grow up with this confusion, this level of confusion that I don't know what I'm supposed to be or where I'm supposed to be or who I'm supposed to be because all of this garbage has been put in their faces from the time they were little kids. So here's where I'm going with this nonsense. All right. This shit has to stop. Our children, our young children, should not be immersed in the types of controversial topics that adults are discussing. We need to be a little bit more diligent in making sure that kids aren't spending hours and hours on their devices and talk to your kids, but talk to your kids about making sure that they stay kids as long as possible. Because guess what? A 10-year-old shouldn't be worrying about this. Even a 15-year-old shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. They shouldn't be deciding if they're, gay, straight, trans, or otherwise until they're adults. Okay? Until they're adults. Because no child should have to have that nonsense on their conscience. They shouldn't, that's nothing they should even be thinking about or worrying about. They should be worrying about which friend do I want to have at my birthday party? When should I go outside and play? Maybe I should build that Lego. They shouldn't be worrying about whether or not by the time they're 14, 15 years old, they may not feel like the body they were born into. This is some bullshit. I'm throwing it out there. I have no problem with any of the other alternative communities, let's call them. Okay. I have gay friends. I have trans friends. I have all kinds. I respect that. I absolutely respect your lifestyle. Okay. But when it comes to kids, there's no need for anybody, parent, educational person, medical professional, nobody should be discussing this ideology. And that's what it is, just an ideology with children. Okay. Because, way back when, you might have had, I don't even know exact numbers. I'm just going to throw some numbers out and hope that they grab something. But way back when, there might have been 1 in 1,000 people who grew up feeling like they genuinely were in the wrong body. They needed to transition. They needed to live their life under the way that they felt in their hearts. And I 100% believe that those people have every right to do so. All the power to you. I hope your life is blessed. Now, it's like something like 1 in 4 people all of a sudden don't think that they belong in their own body. Well, whose fault is that? That's not their fault. That is somebody older than them's fault. If your children are questioning their existence, they need mental health care. Okay. They don't need drugs. They don't need to be put on medication for this, that, and the other thing. They need proper mental health care, talk therapy. Okay. They need to sit in a room with somebody who is not biased and discuss what is bothering them so much, and maybe, just maybe, come to some kind of conclusion of how to make themselves feel better naturally. Because this can't keep going on like this. I watched a show the other night. I don't know if y'all watch it, Diary of a CEO. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen, go check out their stream. It's amazing. But he had somebody on there just recently who was talking about the effect of short videos on children's brains as they grow up. And then, I got absorbed right into that. I fell down that rabbit hole and I decided I need to look into this a little bit further. And as it turns out, you know, how do I phrase this? So if you hand your child a phone, even for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, however long your kid is on their electronic device, whether it's their phone or their iPad or whatever, you put them on there and guaranteed they're not sitting there watching a full length movie on Disney Plus. They're not sitting there watching a full length video on Netflix. You tell you what they are doing is they're in the reels and they're in the TikToks and they're watching 2 second, 3 second, 10 second, 1 minute videos, because guess what? Their little brains cannot build any longer of an attention span. And guess what, society? We all have done this to them. So take the phones away from your children. Take the internet as much as possible away from your children. You want to let your kids watch movies or do educational games? 100%. Give them some educational games. But if any parents have noticed lately, these kids, I'm talking kids, 8 years old to 15 years old, have no attention span. And that's a problem, because now they're growing up and they're turning into these crazy young adults who are screaming and yelling to get their point across because they don't know how to vocalize. They don't know how to converse. They don't know how to get a point across without screaming and yelling, because in their little brains, they only have what? My God, I have less than a minute to get all of my emotions out. So what do? I scream, I spit, I kick. Obviously, that is not the way to solve these things. These kids, these young adults, have never sat down, had a conversation, talked one on one to another person for an extended period of time, because they just don't have the attention span to do it. The internet has destroyed their wee brains, destroyed them. And it turns young children, it makes them grow up too fast. They're too immersed in things that are going on that they shouldn't be immersed in. Then they grow up into teenagers. Now they're full of anxiety. They're full of depression. They're full of all these contradicting emotions. And as parents, what do the parents do? I don't know what to do for my child. I don't know how to help my child. Off to the doctors you go. Here, take this pill. Okay. This isn't fixing the problem. It's not fixing the problem at all. It's teaching them is drop more pills and you'll feel better temporarily. So what? So now we're exchanging a society of confused kids and turning them into a society of addicts. Okay. That's what's happening. Because if you're on, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, anti-ADHD, all these other medications, you develop a dependence for those medications. So now you've got a whole group of people who can't live without having these medications in their system. It's not right. I didn't start taking a pill for anything until I was like over 30. So well over 30. And that pill might have been, I don't know, Tylenol, Advil, maybe something for heartburn. I don't know. But I sure as hell wasn't taking handfuls of mental health prescriptions. Proper mental health care. If you see your kid starting to act differently, if you see your teenager acting out differently, if you've got a child who's questioning their existence in their own skin, get them professional help. And listen here, Canada, Mr. Carney, sir, you need, if you're going to throw money at other countries and you're going to throw money at stupid shit, throw some money into the mental health care system in Canada, because right now it's damn near impossible for somebody to see a psychiatrist. And if you want to go to talk therapy, it's like $150 an hour, which most people can't afford. And if you want to go to talk therapy that's covered under OHIP, guess what? Again, you're going to have to wait 6 months to a year. So, sir, Mr. Carney, do something productive. You haven't done anything productive up till this point. You've been sitting on your ass, flying around all over the place, making deals with people that we don't need to make deals with, and not talking to the one person that you need to. So, how about take a break from all that? Stop throwing our money at stuff we don't need, and maybe throw it into the mental health care system in Canada, because this is going to get worse. It's going to get way worse. There's going to be more pew pewing. There's going to be more mass casualty incidents. There's going to be more screaming and yelling and homeless people and drug addicts and all of this stuff that is getting worse and worse by every single day. It's going to continue to get worse unless our government opens up their big eyes and says, we can actually do something about this. Okay? So, everybody, step one, get your kids off the electronics. If you're letting them be on the electronics, make them watch things that are full length. Don't let them rot their wee brains with these reels and shorts and all those other little things, okay? They need to have a longer attention span. People with teens, keep an eye on your kids. Be more involved in their lives. Pay attention to what they're saying and how they're acting, and don't encourage horse shit. Okay? Don't encourage it. They come to you and they say, I don't know, I feel weird, I feel this, I feel that, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Get them to a mental health practitioner, because that is what is going to save them and have them turn into fully functioning adults. Because right now, a lot of them aren't going to turn into fully functioning adults. They're going to be down there standing on the side of the road in Minnesota screaming and yelling at ICE or something like that, or downtown Toronto screaming and yelling at the police because they think that their rights are being screwed with or something. I don't freaking know. But parents, keep an eye on your kids, keep an eye on your little ones, keep an eye on your teenagers. Do what you can. I know that it's a difficult time and I know it's a difficult society. You can do this, okay? Let's raise good kids. Secondly, those of you who are on mental health medications, try to go to talk therapy. Try different avenues, try natural avenues. Do as much as you can to not be dependent on those kinds of things, because yes, it helps. Yes, it's a bit of a band aid. It's not fixing whatever your underlying condition is. All it's doing is putting a little patch over it, making you feel good for now. Okay. And then you're just dependent on that for the rest of your life. Do you really want that? I don't think you do. I think people, for the most part, would like to live life in a happy place most of the time. We're all going to have stress. We're all going to have anxiety, but we can get through those things with the right coping skills instead of turning to all these different drugs for different things that didn't exist 20 years ago. Okay. So take care of your kids, take care of your teens, take care of yourself. And here, Mr. Carney, do something, Mr. Carney, because this is ridiculous. Whether you have to do something, I don't know, maybe Mr. Ford has to do something, but somebody's got to do something, because this is nonsense. We need more money dumped into the mental health system here in Canada. And that's the only way that any of this shit's going to change. So that's my rant for today. Sorry if it was a little long and kind of all over the place, but I do have ADHD myself and am unmedicated because I like it that way. So have a great day. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And let's keep on trying to fix this damn country. All right. Peace and love. Be kind.